Welcome to Mining Indaba 2025, and today we are talking about a topic that has made the news for the last couple of months and is becoming even more pressing. And I'm joined by Stephen Nthite, who's director of Beech Veltman, to talk about illegal mining.
Yes.
Now, Stephen, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
It's almost to the day a year ago that we sat here and we spoke about illegal mining. Talk to me about illegal mining in South Africa. What are the factors that is driving what can only be called a heinous crime?
Absolutely. You remember that the last time we spoke about this, one of the major issues that I raised was that illegal mining is a global attack on the economy of South Africa. It is not something that is locally based. It's organized crime of an international nature. The estimate at the moment, because we don't have the correct figures, is that South Africa, the fiscus, loses about 290 billion rands annually, from minerals which are extracted illegally and exported to wherever they go, because nobody knows. And just to put it in context, South Africa is not an island. We're part of the bigger and broader African continent. So this issue of illegal mining doesn't only affect South Africa. It affects a lot of African countries, from Central African Republic to the eastern part of the DRC and other countries in Africa. So, but coming back to South Africa, this thing needs to be dealt with as a crime. And that's one thing that people tend to shy away from. Illegal mining is a crime because all minerals in the country belong to the state. And the state has to license you in order for you to mine. So if you do anything in terms of mining or extraction of minerals, which is illegal, we're engaging in an illegal activity. Hence, you saw how the South African government responded by involving the South African Police Service. Why involve the police when there's no crime? Yeah, exactly. So the other issue that makes illegal mining so pervasive in South Africa, and it's increasing every year, it's the socio-economic issues faced by the communities living around the mining areas and communities from the SADC countries, because we share the same socio-economic issues. There's unemployment, there's poverty, there's so many social ills affecting communities, and a lot of them tend to resort to illegal mining as a way of earning an income. So all those factors, the international syndicates, the socio-economic issues affecting communities, people who have been retrenched from the mines or who left because mines were closed, are all coming back to plunder our resources. And that's how hectic the situation is. But somewhere it has to be dealt with. Yes, it has to be done.
And now, Stephen, let's talk about Stilfontein. It made big news headlines, not just in South Africa, but around the world. How did we get to that stage where, supplies were cut down, cut off from those underground, communities were in uproar, humanitarian organizations were in uproar? How did it escalate to that?
Well, incidentally, what a lot of South Africans may not be familiar with is that Stilfontein has been known as one of the hubs of illegal mining in South Africa for years. And nothing has been happening despite the knowledge of even government officials that the people in Stilfontein from time to time are terrorized, along the N12, N12 road that linking them with Johannesburg and all of that. There are times when they could not even drive on that road at night because of the bullets that were flying between different illegal mining gangs. So it's an issue that has been there in Stilfontein for many years. It has never been dealt with. And what has happened is that the illegal miners So the desperation in the community in surrounding areas in Stelfontein, and what they did was to entrench themselves within the community by supporting businesses, by sponsoring sporting activities, by engaging in, for example, establishing families.
Yes.
With the people who stay in Stelfontein, having children there, so they became part of the social fabric of Stelfontein. But the problem was, and the problem is, any relationship that you establish with anyone, business or otherwise, if it's not based on something that is sustainable, it's bound to fail. So the relationship between illegal miners and the community of Stelfontein was bound to fail because it was grounded on illegality. Yes, they were supporting the community. They were doing all sorts of things, but the relationship was grounded on illegality. Now, coming to the issue of the police allegedly depriving legal miners of supplies and all of that, all that I'm going to comment on is that South Africa is a constitutional state. We've got laws that govern how policing should be done in this country. And those laws incorporate international conventions in terms of arresting people, tracing suspects, and treating them.
Yeah.
Even when they're involved in illegal things. One of the things that South Africa has learned during the apartheid era is that even in the worst of situations, you need to show humanity to every South African, whether it's a criminal you're dealing with or a business person who's not doing anything right, until a court of law has said this person deserves to go to jail. Don't deprive them of food. Don't deprive them of the basic necessities to sustain their life. So that should not have happened. If it happened, it should not have happened. They should have been allowed to have the basic sustenance that they need in terms of water. Those are basic food, but not all the luxuries that they wanted. That was a joke.
Not tobacco.
They made a joke of the whole thing, but I'm glad that they all came out. And the job that was done by Mine Rescue Services, very few people talk about it, but they did an excellent job. Yeah, wonderful, excellent job. Everyone is out. Now the law must take its course. The law has to take its course. Yeah, we cannot shy away from it.
Okay. Yeah. But now let's look at law and regulations. The horse may have bolted. There might not be much we can do about illegal mining. But what do you think we can change in South Africa to possibly even formalize this form of mining and bring them into mainstream operations and also thereby contribute to the South African economy?
Well, the one question that I always face as someone who is very interested in this area is that, does South Africa have sufficient laws to deal with issues of illegal mining and all of that? And my answer is always, we have more than enough. We've got more than enough. We've got the Minerals Development Act, MPRDA, we've got the environmental legislation in terms of NEMA, we've got the financial provisions in terms of how closures of mines should be budgeted for between DMRE and environmental affairs. We do have sufficient laws. The problem is enforcement.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
when you start a mine in South Africa, there's certain provisions that have to be made in for the event that your mine shaft or the entire mine has to shut down. In terms of mine closures, DMRE is responsible for that, supported by environmental affairs. The financial provisions are too little, and DMRE has not been that effective in implementing that. The second problem is that when the financial provisions and the NEMA different legislations were put in place, they were not retrospective to go back as many years as possible to remedy the situation of all these abandoned mines and shafts all over the country. We've got too too many abandoned mines and shafts and little money we do with that. But that's not the end of it. What we can do is to make sure that any abandoned mine or shaft, even though there is no money to make sure that the proper closures are done, we've got the police service, got communities around the mines that the government can engage to help them look after these dangerous places. Because these are not mines. These are dangerous places where people die every day. Because there's poisonous gases, there's dirty and chemicals in the water underground, and 2 kilometers under without proper oxygen to breathe. I mean, you saw how those miners were coming out, the conditions in which they looked. It was horrible. That's absolutely horrible. So what we need is a partnership. One, between different government departments, police, DMRE, environmental affairs. They need to work not in silos, but they need to work together to deal with this issue of abandoned mines or abandoned shafts, and deal with current mining activities where owners want to do stop and maintenance, yes, for example, or they want to do mine closures. They need to engage with them to make sure that happens in an orderly fashion. Yes. So the one point that I need to emphasize, I spoke about communities earlier. One of the things that I want to emphasize when it comes to communities is that every business, it does not matter whether you're a small business or a large-scale mine, you need to have a partnership with the community in which you operate.
Yes.
The social license to operate, the social ownership of your project.
Yeah.
They did not contribute money to your project. But when you have their support and cooperation, a lot can be achieved. It's not a cost to a business. It is an investment that you're making as the owner of a business. For example, you start a mine, there's social labor plans which are required that can be put in place to make sure that you contribute to the skills development in that area, which are not necessarily related to mining. You look at the skills which are required currently all over the world, technical skills, IT, and all of that. We provide education and training to the local kids. You make sure that businesses become self-sufficient even beyond the mine closure. They must not just sell things that are required to be supplied to mine workers in the mine.
Yeah.
You can support them through your CSI programs to make sure that they become sustainable even beyond the closure of the mine. If you do that, then you have a sustainable relationship with that community. And they will jealously guard the relationship because they know that whether you're still mining or you have closed, the sustainability continues. They will be there. Yeah. So that's one thing that I think we need to really emphasize and re-emphasize and keep on emphasizing.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, it's not the first time you've brought up that point, but thank you once again for your insights on what is becoming a really big concern in South Africa. Stephen Nthite, Director of Beech Veltman, thank you for joining us on Mining Review Africa.
It's my pleasure.